Jake Sills, National Football Show. Welcome aboard with us, guys. It has been a power-packed week. It's been absolutely amazing. The content is off the charts. The direction of the show has been spectacular. We have had no downtime. Everybody else takes days off, shows off. Man, I think this is one of the better times because you know why? You and I get to make the conversation. We get to make the content. The Eagles and the NFL are front page. Can I tell you, Tone, this is a lesson for you because Tone, who's doing a spectacular job with the show, give your audience or your customers what they want, not what the host wants. Give them what they want. People today in sports want NFL, and then the other stuff is fill-in. NBA, Major League Baseball, pick a sport. It really is just filling gaps. There's nothing. Watch this. College football, by the way, we are loaded, and we are going to get into the draft. Today, we're going to kind of go knee-deep into the draft. And we're going to kind of hit on some areas and some players. By the way, I've gone 10 deep. And we'll continue this. I think we got cornerbacks, edge rushers, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we got running backs today. We also got a new list of the top 100 free agents. Where do the Eagle players sit on that list? Oh, and by the way, you know we have been killing it with guests, right? Guess who I'm having on today? 4:30 Eastern Time, Philly 500. And this is what I think we're going to start doing. Tone, get ready for this. I think we're going to have a fan of the week, which means one of you maybe jumping on the show with us to get your take on your favorite sports team, Eagles, NFL, NBA, what have you. Why not, right? But we'll get one of you guys on. Again, giving the audience what they want to hear. Let me ask you, before we get started here and before the Eagles get started, do you think that the Jalen Hurts deal gets done before March 15th? Yes or no? Do you think it gets done? Do you think it gets done before March 15th, the start of free agency? You know, the Eagles and the Hurts folks are all saying right now the right things. And they should be saying it publicly, the right things. Behind the scenes, I believe they've already got the number. Tell me if you guys subscribe to this. I think they got the number. Okay? I think they have the number. I think they have to work on the framework. This is going to be a telling date. If the Jalen Hurts contract does not get done before March 15th, the Eagles and Hurts are further apart than we thought. Is that fair? If everything is really in a great place and everybody feels good about one another, I think you have to have that deal done before March 15th going into free agency and the draft in April. Is that fair? We're going to know, not by words being thrown out in the media. We're going to know by actions on what direction the Eagles are going to take. If this deal gets done, all of a sudden you're starting to hear some noise in the negotiations start to sprinkle out. This is why. And Tone, all of you, I think it's been quiet on the Western Front for a reason. I think they pretty much got about 80% of the deal done. They're feeling comfortable. Always remember something in negotiations. When you don't hear anything, those are usually when things are going on. When you're hearing a lot of bitching back and forth, that's when things are going sideways. I think the Eagles and Clutch Sports, Nicole, Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, I think these guys are all doing this. It's a process. It's getting there. It's a process. And so far, not a lot of noise, if any. I think it's great. I think it's great. Actually, Marcus, Joe Rogan will be going on in March. Joe couldn't fit me in during the Super Bowl week because I didn't show up to Phoenix. So it's going to be March. I have to drive up there, actually. I can't do it Zoom. I wanted to do it Zoom. You have to be an in-guest studio to go on the Rogan show. So Big Sills has got to get out of the Dan cave. That's why. So we're working on it. All right. So we're all in agreement. March 15th is a day that we're going to pretty much know the direction of where they're going with the Hurts contract. Okay. Here are the draft picks as of February 23rd. Without any compensation picks, without trading any players away, here's what the Eagles have on the docket right now. 2 first-round picks, 10 and number 30. Second-round pick at 62. Third-round pick at number 94. 2 sevens. One is 221 from the Texans. And there's another 7th-round pick at number 250. I do believe they'll probably get 3 or 4 more compensation picks. Some pretty high 3s. Maybe some 4s and 5s. They're going to have a pretty big bounty of draft picks. And this is why we've prepared a conversation today, because I'm going to show you a lot of people like Joey Porter Jr. Look at Ray. Ray likes Joey Porter Jr. Let's take a look. And I'm just going to do this one because we're going to get to the topics here first. I'm just going to give this to you here. Corners. Joey Porter Jr. is evaluated as the 14th pick. Ray, you want to overdraft him? That's overdrafting him. How he operates on trying to get deals. You're trying to alleviate mistakes in the draft, especially those high picks. Okay? He's evaluated going into the combines. Now, again, the combines are next week. That number can change. Someone goes number 14. Dude, the 14th pick in the draft is a heck of a spot. Ray Lewis went in the 20s. Okay? Ray Lewis went in the 20s to the Ravens. The Ravens didn't overdraft him. They got a deal. Ray Lewis, if you had to redo that draft again, would have been the number 1 overall pick. He's arguably the greatest middle linebacker in history. That's why the Ravens were so good in the draft. Ozzie was never going to overdraft. He got a deal on Ray Lewis. He knew Lewis was a great player. He knew he was a great player. What I'm saying is, maybe you trade down to 14, get another pick, and get your guy. And there you have value. I'll explain here in a second. We're going to get to all these. I promise you. I promise you. The draft is something I love. I love doing the draft. Okay? I do. And remember what I told you last year. I was telling you about this kid McDuffie and the kid from Utah, Lloyd. You guys hated them. They were starters for playoff teams. I didn't miss. And I said they were going to take Jordan Davis, and they did. Okay? So we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm very excited to tell you how we got 3 positions, and we're pretty deep on a lot of them, especially the corners. Because I think Howie's going to do some maneuvering at number 10. We're going to get to that. But before we do that, I got a topic I want to ask you before we go. How important is it for the Eagles to bring back Brandon Graham, Kelsey, and Fletcher Cox? Is it a priority to bring those 3 guys back? Those guys are your core tone setters in your locker room and your environment. Those 3 men are the Eagle way since 17, really. How important do you think it is with a new defense, with a lot of new faces in the organization? How important is it to bring back Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, and Fletcher Cox? Or is it not a priority? You see, Peter, I'm more talking about environment, more so than talking about what players better. Obviously, Kelsey is the guy you would want back. The guy had an all-pro season. By the way, you should see how high he's ranked when it comes to free agency. It's absolutely insane what people think of him. Let me tell you this. If Jason Kelsey got on the open market, the only reason he wouldn't be one of the top 2 guys is because he's 36. And he's still highly coveted. If Jason Kelsey, okay, if Jason Kelsey was younger, he would be he would be the Eagles' number 1 priority. You know, I have to think that Jason Kelsey is still a priority for the Eagles to bring back. You don't want to lose your center. The 2 most important players in your offense when it comes to your offensive line are center and left tackle. Protecting the blind side, quarterback of your center, and your center's the quarterback of your O-line. Sets the fronts odd and even. Kelsey has been one of the most important Eagles in the last 20 years. I'm talking, guys, I get it. I don't want to prioritize one or the other. I'm talking about the collective group. These 3 men who have been an integral part of what the Eagles have built there with Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and how they have dominated the NFC East. How important are these 3 men to the organization? Graham, Kelsey, and Fletcher Cox. The 3 of them. The 3 of them. How important is it? Is it a priority for them? I think it's pretty. You know, if they were bringing back pretty much everybody on the roster, I think you could do without these guys. But I think you're going to have a lot of new faces in that building. Okay? And it's going to be even more pressure on Jalen to set the culture. These 3 men these are your 3 leaders, along with Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Jalen's not in that conversation, but we not agree these are your 3 leaders. So you're going to lose 3 leaders, not just 3 players. Okay? 3 leaders. Tone, you agree? And Jalen's the 4th? You're 4 leaders on the Eagles. Graham, Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, and Jalen Hurts. You're going to lose 3 of the 4 of the leaders that took a team to the NFC Championship game and won it and went to the Super Bowl and was a quarter away from winning it. There's no priority there? Look at Dank, all 4 are captains. So 3 of your 4 captains aren't coming back. Wow. That's a leadership void. Lane 2, you're right, S. Blunt. Lane 2. But these other guys, they've been there through the good and bad. Coaching changes, shitty coaching, arguing, bad quarterback decisions, great quarterback decisions, having a great year. They've been through it all. Man, that experience in your locker room, that's something you just can't put a price tag on. Maybe again, though, if you take a look at it on the other side, maybe this is the time where you create new leaders. Jordan Mailata stepping up. Devontae Smith falling into a leadership role. Right? Josh Sweat becoming more of a vocal leader. So maybe that's, again, the priority in how you build new leadership, and especially with Jalen Hurts in your building. Okay? Especially, again, I was not just talking about one of the three. I was talking about the three men. All right. Eagles targets. This is going to be, again, something that we're going to do a lot this year. Okay? Something we're going to do a ton of. So we're going to do that here in a second. Before I move on February 23rd, we did this last year throughout the entire offseason. This will be the first edition of this. What expectations and what growth do you want to see Jalen Hurts with in 2023? What do you want to see? I said he'd be around 3,900 yards. He was. I said he'd be around 25 touchdowns, which he was. They're going to win less games this coming season, which means what? He's going to put up bigger numbers because Jalen Hurts is going to have to win games offensively. As of today, look, guys, your defense is not the same moving forward. Put that in the back of your mind. Your defense is not the same. Tone said this yesterday. That roster was historic. Your quarterback's going to start getting paid. I'm not going to go through that whole maze of conversation again. I'm just telling you. You're going to lose more games this coming season. That doesn't mean you won't go further. I think the NFC still sucks. Watch this. I think there's a chance the NFC could suck worse. But your team's lesser. Now, again, I'm not talking about going from 14 wins to 9. That's probably going to be a 12-win ball team again. You're going to be between 12 and 14, and I'm leaning more towards the latter end. But 12 wins? I don't know. 14 wins, 12 wins. You still go to the NFC title game? What do you care? What do you care if it's 12 or 14? You get to the NFC title game, you're in the ballpark again, right? Who gives a shit about that? Who gives a shit 12 wins, 14 wins? I don't. I care about getting to the game again. Hurts is going to have to carry the team. Last year, that team carried itself. Defensively, offensively, special teams sucked out loud. By the way, that's not still being addressed. You got to pay your quarterback. Special teams won't be addressed, so you're not going to have the best special teams too. So your special teams may get a little better. Your defense is going to get a lot worse. Jalen's going to have to do more. What are we looking at for Jalen? What benchmarks do you want to see him personally achieve? Can he be 4,000 yards passing? Here's how he can get to 4,000 yards passing. 300 yards rushing. Could probably get him to that number, not 700 yards. If you guys are counting on him going 700-800 yards again, he may not get 3,500 yards. You're asking this man to do so much. He's physically not going to be able to do it. He didn't do it this year. He missed ball games. Thank God the division wasn't a threat, and no one in the NFC threatened you, or you may have lost home field advantage. Okay? 4,000 yards is possible for this kid, especially if you don't have any massive losses. My problem is going to be this. If the Eagles lose the center and right guard, that's a center, right guard, and running back. That's a big loss. The heart of your offensive line and production out of your back. Boy, that's not something that I'm talking about here to help Jalen Hurts continue to evolve. You know, Seth came on the other day and went like this to us. Hey, you know, he's a dual threat guy. They don't really care about stopping the run, but they care about running the ball. And if you lose your center and your right guard and your running back who had 1,300 yards, that's a lot of production, my friends. Andre Dillard's not going to be there. You're going to have Juergens and you're going to have Jack Driscoll. Those will be your depth guys. Is that enough? Probably draft another guy in the upcoming April draft in the offensive line. Brian goes, he'd like to see Jalen get more accurate. Well, Jalen was about 66 completion percentage. That's a good number. Any higher, he's going to lead the league. So I'm okay. Look, anything over 65, you got a quarterback that's pretty accurate. 65, hey, basically 7 out of every 10 footballs he throws, they're pretty much catching. That's a pretty good ratio. I'm okay with, like, right? I mean, look, almost 7 out of 10 passes. Hurts is completing, you're going to win a lot of ball games with that. Okay, that you're going to be really good with that. Here's what I'd like to see. Here's on February 23rd, my projections for Hurts and what I'd like to see him do this year. 4,000 passing yards, 4,000, 30 TD passes, 5 rushing touchdowns, and about 340 yards rushing. If you do that, that means you're taking less wear and tear on your dual threat quarterback, and guess what he's doing? He's evolving into Russell Wilson, early Russell Wilson. If Jalen Hurts puts those kind of numbers up, he will be Russell Wilson 2.0. Russell Wilson is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Right now, just like the guy in Buffalo, you're running into a dead end with this if you don't figure out how to take some of that rushing attack away from him, which means a running back is going to be essential in this draft or free agency. Okay? We're looking at getting Hurts a 10-year contract, 2 contracts potentially. That's what we're talking about here. I don't want Jalen to be a 5-year guy. If this is the new wave and this is the direction that the Eagles, again, dual threat guys, if this is what it is, again, not my cup of tea, but if this is what it is, I have to figure a way to get this guy to 10 years in the league. Those guys don't play 10 years. Okay? They don't play 10 years. We've got to figure out that and how to make it happen. So those are kind of my early off-season goals for Jalen Hurts. 4K, 30 TDs, 5 rushing touchdowns, and 340 yards rushing. Dude, he was trending for 200 carries. You're going to get him killed. You're going to get him killed. You're going to get him killed. Okay. We're going to go into the draft. And we're going to target at 10 first ideology. What would you do at 10 if you're Howie? Having the quarterback figured out, guys, having the quarterback figured out gives you so much variety of being able to go in so many different ways. Okay? Gives you an opportunity to go in so many different areas. I mean, it gives you so much latitude on where to go because you have that position in your heart solidified, the most important position on the field. The Eagles, get this, when Howie made this move, do we all agree when Howie made this move to get 2 number ones, it wasn't to go position hunting. It was for a quarterback. Howie Roseman can now go position hunting. And know this, there are so many teams that overdraft in the NFL and will panic as they get closer to the April draft. Howie sits back and lets those guys panic. And guess what? There's always a fish that will call up and go, Howie, what do you want to do with 10? He's got him. He's got him. And with the free agent quarterback market being what it is, it's not a deep one. I mean, your third best guy is what? Daniel Jones? Garoppolo? I don't know. Then you got the 10th pick. This is a quarterback draft. There's a bunch of kids in this draft. Shit, sitting at 10. And all of you are saying this, right? All of you guys are saying this to me. Sills, these RPO guys are the new wave. Doesn't Anthony Richardson remind you of Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson's in line for $51 million. Doesn't the Gator quarterback remind you of that? 6'4", 238 pounds, plays in the Southeastern Conference. Lamar Jackson was the 32nd player taken. That was the last gift that Ozzie Newsome gave the Ravens. Was Lamar Jackson. Howie sits there at 10 and goes, best offer. I'll trade out of it. I'll trade out of it. Right? Joshua says cornerback and edge. That's kind of what we're going to look at today. And I also got running back on this list. No, Brian, I'm not saying draft a quarterback at 10. Absolutely not. Other teams are going to draft quarterbacks at 10. Absolutely not. I'm saying a team in the league will panic. They'll panic and want that 10th pick. What are the Bears going to do? Are the Bears going to trade Justin Fields, put him in a package deal, send him to Houston, get some of Houston's draft equity? Houston gets Fields. They get the number 1 overall pick, and they take Bryce Young. Are they going to do that? There is so much. This combines for Howie Roseman and the Eagles and a lot of teams in the NFL that are looking for that signal caller. The Jets got to figure out. Joe Douglas has got to figure out what they're doing at the quarterback position. How about this? Going into next week's combines, the Jets are already convinced that Zach Wilson ain't the answer. He was the number 2 overall pick. Look at all these teams that have quarterback issues. You know, the Green Bay Packers, if they don't move off of Aaron Rodgers, they've got to have blind faith to pick up the 5th-year option on Jordan Love, who they've never seen play. The Packers are going, Jesus. Aaron Rodgers, $60 million, or the 5th-year option on a guy we've never seen play. There's a ton of teams that have a ton of decisions to make. Are the Lions going to really go with Jared Goff? Is Washington really going to go with Sam Howell? Or do you think that Eric Bieniemy can attract the free agent quarterback like Derek Carr to go to Washington? All those decisions are being bantered back and forth like we are talking right now. Here, how about Dak Prescott in Dallas? Would Jerry move Dak Prescott for Jordan Love? Would they trade him? And a first-round pick to get Jordan Love? Packers have to send me a high pick. I'll send you Dak. You give me a 1 and Jordan Love, and I'll send you Dak. Some of you go, that's crazy. Cowboys got to do something money-wise because they're in purgatory. Dak's a top 3 quarterback. In what world? There's a $42 million contract that's never panned out. Do you know that Joe Burrow in just 2 years starting in Cincinnati has more wins than Dak Prescott and Tony Romo in the last 25 years of quarterbacking in Dallas? Burrow has more postseason wins. America's team? Where? I'll tell you what, you may be America's team, but you're not America's team in the postseason. That's an early exit. That's an early exit. Let's take a look at the corners. And let's just go here with this. I think that is the target. Because you know why? You got a lot of money back there. And you've had really a lot of success. Darius Slay, scheduled to make $18 million. Your free safety is free agent-wise expected to be in the range of 14.4, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Bradbury on the other side of that will be in the $15 to $17 million range. Obviously, you can't afford all these guys. So what's the mentality and logic you think the Eagles, knowing this, the quarterback's pay is going to dictate a lot of the moves here. And also this too. You still don't know who your coordinator is. You have no idea. You have a philosophy on what you're thinking about, 34, 43, 50 front. What are you looking at? Aggressive, not aggressive, Jonathan Gannon style, a young guy? Are we just going to elevate Wilson from within? To me, that's the easiest thing to do because he knows the current personnel that's on the team. He knows the direction of the organization. He knows the general manager. To me, that's the simple thing, Denard Wilson. I think they're doing a due diligence on the defensive coordinator side. But when you go out of house like that, man, and you've got this much turnover happening on defense, you're asking for a lot. You are asking for a lot. Slay's not taking a pay cut. He's 32. There's no pay cut here. He made the Pro Bowl. He's an all-pro corner. Why in the world, in his last potential year of making $18 million, would he take a pay cut? He's want to maximize the most money he possibly can. Stop with the pay cut. He might be dealt. Now, this is what I would do. Restructure his contract so he's tradable. You restructure his contract, trade him as you get ready for the NFL draft. That's something to think about. Bird, Slay made the Pro Bowl, and he's an all-pro. Let's get to Slay here in a minute. Would you move Gardner-Johnson over to corner? Played it in New Orleans. Here's a trick. Sign him at 14.4. It's under market value. Then you move him to corner. His agent would bitch. That's kind of a jackass thing to do. He played corner in New Orleans. You go like this to him. You give him 14-4. You move him the corner. Hey, it's not a cool thing, though. You negotiate with him being a safety, and then you move him the corner, and you draft the safety. It's not the coolest thing to do. He played nickel. Yeah, he played nickel. To me, I think I don't know. It'd be a jerk thing to do, move him the corner. Okay, but it's a snake. Hey, Jameson, it is a snake move, and Howie's not really a snake type of dude. Okay, Avonte Maddox, I think he's too slow to play corner. I think he's big enough and physical enough, but I think he's too slow. Man, you got to be 4'4", 4'5" down there, and I don't know. I don't think he's got quick feet, and I don't think he's a quick twitch athlete. I think he's really good. I like him. But it's a jerk move. You sign CJ as a safety and slide him over to corner. Okay? I'm going to keep him where he is too. Bradbury's gone. So let's just take him off. By the way, we're going to look at interior linemen too. I think I got defensive tackles because you're losing Hargrave. Chicago, New England, Minnesota are all making him a priority. Wait till you see where he's ranked on the free agent list. Unless they franchise him, and to me, I don't see the Eagles franchising anybody. Man, this is a lot of strategy stuff. Hargrave's not coming back. Because get this, not that the Eagles don't want him back. Teams are going to overpay him, man. They're going to overpay him. I'm going to get to we got a free agent list too with all the Eagle names on it. I believe out of the top 100, I think Philly has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 9 of them. They did all these lists going into the combines. Here are the rankings and lists of all the players heading into the combines, which start on Monday. Players are showing up now in Indianapolis. The top cornerbacks going into the NFL draft and prospects to be considered in the 7 rounds. Okay? Mr. Stuff goes like this. I know you ain't writing anything on your pad. Show me your homework. Okay? 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 Okay. We're always prepared. Never deny that. Oh, and my corner list. I don't bullshit anybody, dude. Okay. Your top cornerbacks heading into the National Football League's draft. I saw this guy, Witherspoon, play against Michigan. He is my favorite player in the NFL draft. He's projected to be number 6. If this kid falls to 10, he's a steal. Nakobe Dean's not a draft steal. This would be a steal. If he falls to 10, could it be? Yes, because of the quarterbacks. There's a ton of them in the draft. This kid, Witherspoon, could be Sauce Gardner. My problem is the conference he's in. Man, he's a hitting machine. He covers. Get this, his closing speed. And here's one of the most important things that I think Devon Witherspoon has compared to the rest of these guys that are in the draft. Do you know what he has? Mistake speed. Okay? You know what mistake speed is? False read, can catch up, and can cover mistakes. Can I tell you that's the one when you watch Sauce Gardner play, Sauce Gardner has recovery speed. He gets a false read. He's back on the guy, and he's in his hip pocket. And to be taught that at Cincinnati, dude, Finkel did a great job of coaching that kid. That kid was prepared like he played in the SEC. I thought he was good. I didn't think he had that kind of technique. But the closing speed that he has, and mistake speed, that's what makes this kid Witherspoon also kind of like that. He's got recovery speed. People that have false reads all the time. He's one of these guys. Christian Gonzalez. I talked to Mario Cristobal about him, the former Oregon coach. He's in the conversation with Kayvon Thibodeau, Penei Sewell, Justin Herbert. He's a great athlete. You know, you could make the argument he was the best player in the Pac-12. He's projected at 10. Okay? Would I draft him? Probably. Okay? Probably. What if he falls? What if he's at 12 or 13? And I could step back a couple steps, get a couple more picks, and get the guy. I wouldn't want to go too far down, like to 15, because you may lose him. But I would go down 11, 12, something like that, to maybe get a second or third rounder. You've got 1 second-round pick now. This is before compensation picks. Okay? This is another one of those kids that has great speed. And my only issue is that sometimes bigger wide receivers can kind of push him around a little bit. Okay? I watched a couple games that he had, and sometimes he gets pushed around a little bit by more physical guys. Not a lot. I saw it maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times a game. Most of the time, he was the best star on the field. Not saying it. He's totally the 10th. He's in that range between, I think, bottom end, 10 to 15, not 5 to 10. I think he's down there, 10 to 15. I could see him in that pick. He really moves well, though. He's got a great, you know what he kind of moves like? Asante Samuel. If you're going to make a comparison to Gonzalez, he kind of moves around like Asante Samuel. Here's what everybody in Philly wants, because he's a Penn State kid, you know. Joey Porter Jr., Penn State. As of right now, they have him ranked the 14th. 21st ranked player going. It's 21. He's a 21st ranked player. You're going to take him at 10? That's overdrafting. I'm not saying this kid. Now watch this. This is where you got to be kind of creative. If you want this kid, he's being graded as the 21st player in the upcoming draft. You got a 10 pick and you got a 31 pick. So he's wedged in the middle there, more towards your 30th pick. Porter might be down there at 30. Unless somebody overdrafts him, he's not a top 10 kid. I don't think he's exceptionally fast. I think he's tough, smart. I think he's prepared. I think he played in a great system do you guys know who the defensive coordinator is at Penn State? You guys know who the Penn State D coordinator is? Do you have an idea who he is? Do you guys know who he is? Who's the defensive coordinator at Penn State right now? This is why you guys come here. You guys come here because of my connections. And we entertain. Who's the D coordinator at Penn State? Manny Diaz. He was the head football coach at the University of Miami for 5 years. I had a conversation a few days ago about Joey Porter. Loves a kid. Great talent, athletic, prepared, comes from a lineage of father having played in the league, and he loves the kid. His deficiencies, okay, he will make a false read, and he doesn't have the recovery speed that we talked about here with Gonzalez and Witherspoon. So he's got to be technically sound, which he 95% of the time is. You got to watch out for some injuries. He got nicked up a little bit, missed a little bit. And when he gets hurt, doesn't play at the highest level at times. Again, it's got nothing to do with toughness. The fact he even plays when he's hurt, he plays through it. You want that. Okay? But are you going to take the 21st graded kid and put him at 10? That's overdrafting. You're taking a gamble there. He's more the 30th pick than he is the 10th pick. This is how certain teams like Baltimore always win and teams like Arizona always lose because they overdraft. The kid Porter, by the way, the kid Porter may turn out to be, here, let me make a comparison. Guys, who was the real Aeneas Williams? Could Joey Porter turn out to be Aeneas Williams? He could. He could. But you could get this kid. What if you traded up from 30 to 25 and he's sitting there? That's a good pick. That's a good move for a player you didn't overdraft. Okay? Look, Gonzalez at 10 is remember something I said this about Gonzalez though. Gonzalez is more 10 to 15. So you've got to take that into consideration when you're thinking of taking him at 10. Witherspoon is 5 to 10. Because there's a lot of great players that are in the draft. That kid Carter, it would not shock me if that defensive tackle, Carter from Georgia, goes ahead of Will Anderson. They love that kid. Okay? Ike Taylor, that's a good comparison. 215. But again, he may turn out to be Ike, but why not get Ike and another good pick when you can? This is the beauty of the draft. I want Ike Taylor on my team. And what if I get Hugh Douglas in the latter rounds? Then you strike gold twice. That's what you're trying to do here. The biggest problem that organizations have, they overdraft all the time, especially in the top 15. They'll see a kid like Porter, draft him at 10, and you'll go like this. See, to me, Jordan Davis is overdrafted. He's not the 13th pick. Is he a first rounder? Probably, but somewhere around 25 where I had him. I had Jordan around 25, 22, down there. Not 13. He's not the 13th pick in any draft. Well, still, did you see him at the combines? I don't want a weight room guy. I want a football player. If a guy goes to the combines and blows the combines up and he's the star of the combines, what's that got to do with playing ball on Sundays? Are you against going double corner in the first round like we did? Yeah, John, thank you, John, too. John, it depends on what's coming back, too. Okay? You lose CJ and a corner. I got Slay at $18 million. What am I paying Slay for then? Okay? Double corners is not a hey, watch this. John, there's nothing bad here that you could throw out because they're all doing that too at the NovaCare Center right now. Okay? They're all doing that at the NovaCare Center. Okay. Now, there's another kid that played in the Big Ten that doesn't have the fanfare. Deonte Banks, Maryland. Number 23 could fall down to 30. Hey, how many times have you seen guys that are just so hyped up and the second guy turns out to be better? This kid Banks is pretty good. I've watched him. Watched a couple. Do I think Porter's better? Maybe a little. Maybe a little. But I don't. Watch this. Porter and Banks compared to Witherspoon and Gonzalez is a big difference. Just remember that. Okay? Just remember that. Okay? Witherspoon, Gonzalez versus Porter and Banks. The Porter and Banks guys are down, in my opinion, in the 20s. They're not in the teens. Those aren't teens guys at corner. There's a kid at the University of Miami that I like. His name is Tyreek Stevenson, University of Miami. He's gauged and graded at number 39. Number 39 is a second-round pick. Okay? If wide receivers in the NFL, like Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, okay, DK Metcalf, can go in the second round, corners can go in the second round. If you miss on all those guys, you can get this kid Stevenson at number 39. Okay? He's a good pick. You could, and the problem with this is if he falls, your picks in the second round, as of today, is number 62. You grab him at 39, you grab him at 62, and he's the 39th graded guy going. Now, look, these grades are going to change after the combines. I'll have a better look at them after they've talked to them and see them. Okay? By the way, guys, do you know who gives me these lists? Guys like Frank Reich, who you had a conversation with yesterday. Kevin Colbert, who still is an advisor in Pittsburgh, the general manager who's been on this program, Tom Telesco, they all tell, I get these lists, the same lists they have. There's another kid at Mississippi State, number 42. Emmanuel Forbes. He plays in the Southeastern Conference. He's another kid to look at. Now you're starting to get closer to your pick. All these guys would be steals at 2. Eli Ricks, Bama, number 63, right around your pick. Played at Bama. You're in the SEC. Howie loves the Southeastern Conference. He loves Bama. Garrett Williams, number 49, Syracuse. Pretty good ball player. Pretty good player. Watched him play. Saw his highlight reel. I'm a fan of him. There's another kid at TCU. His name is Tomlinson. And he's around the Eagles' number 2 pick at 62. He's rated the number 60th cornerback in the draft. And then there's another kid at 10 by the name of Cam Smith. He's 69, and he played at South Carolina. I'm with you, Jameson. TCU stopping people on defense. I mean, TCU putting defensive guys in the NFL. Since when? They don't really play any defense in that conference. I'm always concerned about that, especially Big 12 guys. Always concerned about Big 12 dudes. I don't, he's ranked here. This is the list I got. Okay? TCU players on defense in the NFL. It's like, I mean, I don't see it. Oil and water here. I like the kid Ricks at 63. That's around the 62 mark that the Eagles have. Maybe one of these guys goes in. How about this? Maybe one of these guys goes into the third round. You pick them up at 94 in the third. Again, this is here. We're doing this here. This is not counting the comp picks you're going to get. Okay? Now, I hope this isn't too technical for some of you. Okay? Really, because, again, this is the ideology that people at the NovaCare Center and the personnel department, especially college, are doing right now. They're looking at value. You see, it's not so important the guy's name on the back of the jersey. I'm going to give you guys a lesson in how you should evaluate from now on. And I got this lesson from Jimmy Johnson and how Jimmy evaluated talent. He never cared what the name on the back of the jersey said. That was the last thing he cared about. You guys are looking at Porter and seeing the father. That's a bad evaluation. Is there I mean, you think Chris Sims is? I mean, I know the Mannings are a great example of that, or the Matthews. And there's examples of success, but there's also success and there's also failure when you do that. And again, Dank, I'm with you. The traits, the dad, but what's the relationship with the father and the son? I mean, are you sure how do you know we're not talking about, like a relationship that's not a good one and there's no influence at all? Okay? So what I'm saying to you is, here's how you should evaluate. Jimmy gave me this analogy. The best people that profile people are who? FBI people that are looking for serial killers. He said they're the best evaluators of a trait of a person, behavior, who they are, how they'll act, what their tendencies are, what their habits are, their mental makeup, their failure success rate, what they're going to do next, because you're counting on what they're going to do next when you're evaluating a serial murderer. And these FBI guys go through every single detail of a person's life. When you're evaluating an NFL talent guy, do you know how many steps most personnel departments miss? They don't go back to high school to talk to the high school guy, especially if you're going to use the 10th pick on someone. That's a pretty big salary right there. But I think you should do that on the 10th pick and the 100th pick. If you're going to bring a guy into your organization, you better know his work habits. You better know his traits. You better know if he's going to be the last guy in or the first guy in and the last guy out. You need to know all those things. Or guess what? You're going to be Jalen Hurts in the second round because you didn't do your due diligence. Or you're going to miss on Joe Montana. Or more importantly, you're going to miss on Tom Brady in the 6th round. This is why players like Jordan Mailata go to the 7th round, or Larry Allen to the 12th round, because people didn't do their due diligence. Why? They didn't put the extra work in because they think it's all about evaluating the first 3 rounds, and that rounds 4 through 7. Most of the league do you guys know what the most successful round is in NFL history? Do you guys know what the most successful round in NFL history is? The 3rd. Because you can't overpay and you don't overdraft in that round. The 3rd round is the most successful round in the NFL history. It's not the 1st round. It's not the 2nd round. It's the 3rd. Loki goes, why? Because you don't overdraft in that round. It's best available athlete. That's most teams stop doing their homework is after round 3. After round 3, they just do this. Best available athlete. Well, that's why you hit on them dudes. That's why you find Jason Kelce in latter rounds. You didn't do your homework on Jason Kelce, and Jason Kelce is a Hall of Famer. They couldn't evaluate the Hall of Famer. They just took the next best guy. That wasn't the Eagles drafting him in that round. They guessed. It wasn't a stroke of genius. It was a guess. What, you think the New England Patriots did their due diligence on Tom Brady? They passed on him 5 times. Did you not think if a guy was going to win you 6 Super Bowls, you would wait 6 times to get him? How common sense? And then you got an asshole like Bill Polian lying to you going, we had a first-round grade on Tom Brady. No, you didn't. Because if you did, you would have drafted him and traded Peyton Manning. He owned Manning. That's why that guy's not doing any TV anymore. Because he started lying on the air trying to change his history. Bill Polian had a first-round. Nobody on the planet with any common sense had a first-round grade on Tom Brady. First-round grade on Tom. Yeah, just like the Eagles had a first-round grade on Jason. If Jason Kelce was drafted with what he's accomplished, he'd be the 4th pick. He'd be the 4th pick. It's a pretty talented. I don't know. I don't know who said this week to me that, Sills, this is a pretty deep class for corners. I'm wrong. You're right. It is. Because when you have guys and 10 dudes in the top 70 picks, those are all guys that will start and play. All 10 of these guys are going to get a chance to start in the league this year. You're dead on. So whoever said that, Dank, I said, Dank, you're right, Dank. You got 10 guys in the top 70 picks according to NFL scouts. That number may even add after they talk to some of the kids. I think they invite like 350 kids to the combines or something like that. I think it's like 350 or 365. And they're going to whittle it down, or they'll probably expand some of these lists. 10 guys top 70, that's pretty impressive. These guys are all going to play. They're going to play on special teams. They're going to start. You know why some of these guys are going to start? Because teams are going to be in the position that the Eagles are in. Got to start a rookie. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs got 2 rookies starting at corner. Hey, you got to do that when you got to pay a quarterback $50 million. Dang, big W this week. You're right. It was. I'm wrong. It's a pretty big list here. It's a pretty big list. Man, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of stuff today. A lot of stuff. Edge rusher. By the way, I think, again, that's the cornerback list. I'm going to keep that with us, too, and I'm going to see if that gets added. But we're going to do the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Of the top 100 free agents, the Eagles have 9 guys heading into March 15th free agency period. Man, these guys are going to make big money. And I don't know where the Eagles are going with this. That's why I think this Hurts deal is so important. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Hour number 2. By the way, Philly 500 is going to join us at 4:30 Eastern time. We're going to talk with him, get his thoughts on the offseason. I wonder if he's recovered from the Super Bowl. We will do that next. Hour 2. Please keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
My name is Fran Salerno. I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Did you know taxes could be your biggest expense during retirement? Are most of your assets in tax-deferred accounts like IRAs and 401ks? Taxes are historically low today, but we're facing significant headwinds in the future. Do you have a plan? The Thrive Financial team has more than 100 years of experience helping people across the Delaware Valley with forward-looking tax planning. Learn how to shift your money from forever tax to no or low tax accounts. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
Hour number two, Big Sills. Word is that the Washington Commanders are going to cut Carson Wentz before March 15th. He'll be looking for another gig. Huge cap hit. That's a huge cap hit to Washington. I mean, and the equity they gave up to the Colts to get the guy, they're going to whack him. So Carson Wentz is not going to be on the Washington Commanders. Not at $28 million or $38 million. That's not happening. They're going to pay him to go away. I got to agree with Seth. You know what you couldn't evaluate with him? How weak mentally he is. And his talent couldn't overcome the weakness that he had upstairs. That shows you how hard it is to evaluate that position. All the intangibles when it came to arm strength, size, mobility, all of that talent, Wentz has it. Has it in bunches. But what he can't do is he can't think himself around a game. And he can't, most importantly, can't think himself around a locker room. This is where Jalen was under-evaluated. Jalen could think himself around a locker room. You know what's funny? I had Howard Eskin on, and I'll never forget this. This was before everyone was sold on Jalen Hurts. One of the things that I loved about Jalen, and I said this from day one, was what kind of teammate he was to Tua Tagovailoa And you know what Howard said? Well, I got a problem with a guy quitting on a team and leaving and going somewhere else. He said that right on this program. I was like this. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as a guy who started an assignment, wanted to finish the assignment, which was graduating, and then he moved on. And he went to Oklahoma. I didn't look at it like that. Howard looked at it like he was quitting. So whatever Howard Eskin's telling you now about Jalen Hurts, he's lying. Now, opinions change with production. I tell you that all the time. Okay? Production changes opinions. And it should change your opinion. You should be able to reevaluate a guy if he's getting better or he's getting worse. That's the case with Carson Wentz. Okay? So Wentz most likely will be cut. I'm going to get to the Eagle free agents here in a second. Don't forget, bottom of the hour, our friend Philly 500 will join us and we'll get his spin on what the Super Bowl loss, if he's over it. His take on the Eagle offseason. We'll go from there with that. Real quick. So I just heard that Aaron Rodgers has come out of his hibernation thing, whatever that thing was in Oregon, that darkness thing. Funny is that quarterback has been living in darkness his entire career in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is still in the dark. That's the problem with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers walks in the dark. Aaron Rodgers, when he walks into a locker room, it's darkness to him. When Jalen Hurts walks into a locker room, he sees his teammates. When Tom Brady walks in, he sees his teammates. Aaron Rodgers, his entire 17 years in Green Bay, has been in the dark. You know, I'm gonna make this statement to you. 10 years from now, as much as a hemorrhoid Brett Favre has been, the bullshit he's pulling on the state of Mississippi, do you know he'll be more revered in Green Bay than Aaron Rodgers ever was? We'll look back on that 30-year run of quarterbacks in Green Bay and go like this: Favre's more revered. Brett Favre's more revered. You know why? He's relatable. He F's up too, like everyone else does. Rodgers thinks he's better than you. And he sees you in the dark, which means he looks right through you. Aaron Rodgers has come out of the dark. Since when? Since when has he ever come out of the dark? Right? If there's one guy in the NFL I see that walks in the dark every day, and every day when he's on a football field, it's that guy. He walks in the dark all the time. Just so happens he was sitting in it for 4 days. He probably loved it. You know what? I wouldn't doubt if Aaron Rodgers felt comfortable in the dark. He's a guy. Most of us would feel uncomfortable because we like to see what's coming in front of us and we'd like to see our destiny. He probably enjoys sitting in the dark. I would think he's right at home. All right. The top 100 free agents. Hey, Loki, he is a weirdo. I don't mind weirdos. But I just want you to be a good teammate. If you're a weirdo, dude, weirdos, we've all met a ton of them. I'm all right with weirdos. But dude, be a good teammate. That's all I'm asking you. And be a good dude. You know what I mean? Don't be elderly people, women or kids or animals. And you and I are going to go a long way. Okay? We're going to go a long way. If you don't beat elderly, women, kids, and animals, Big Sills, you and I are going to be friends. All right. I want to get to the Eagle rankings on their 9 free agents that are ranked in the top 100 going into the free agent period, which will start on March 15th. And as I told you, I think that the Hurts deal has to get signed before this so that the Eagles are going to know a little bit of their direction on what they're going to do. it would help Howie and the organization. And as you get ready for the NFL draft, what direction? Right now, you're kind of rudderless if you're the Eagles. Not saying this won't get, by the way, not saying this won't be resolved like it was a year ago. Okay? They just got to put the chess pieces back on the board again. It's almost like the chessboard fell off the table, and Howie's got to put them back on again. That's all this is. Okay? Here are the top 9 Eagle players that are ranked in the top 100 free agents. And I'm going to put money on the side of them, and you tell me if you think Howie Roseman pays it. The number 1 free agent in Philadelphia as we get ready for March 15th is Javon Hargrave, Eagles. He's ranked number 3, which means he's the most coveted defensive player in free agency, which means it's between 15 and 18 million. He's currently making $12.9 million right now. Will Howie give between 15 and 18 million? By the way, Minnesota, New England, Chicago have already said he's a number 1 priority for them. Minnesota needs to stop them. They need to have a star in the middle of their defense. And guess what you got up there now? Brian Flores. Brian Flores is going to put some of the pieces. And Minnesota's pretty good on cap space. Hargrave's ranked number 3. You think he pays between 15 and 18 million? I don't. Too expensive. Got to pay your quarterback. Hargrave's 30. There's no hometown discounts. This is his last big deal. Okay? Dude, he could go to New York. They got $53 million in cap space. Chicago has $94 million in cap space. They can afford him. This is crazy. Like, these aren't my rankings. Jason Kelce is number 10. Crazy. The only reason he's not higher is because he's 36. Okay? 36, and he's the 10th ranked free agent. Man, this guy is a stud. Dude, I believe he'll do whatever it takes to stay in Philly. But I got to tell you, if he went on the open market, could he get a 1 or 2 year contract with a team that needs a center and get $15 million? He could. But Jason Kelce has an affection for Philadelphia, for the Eagles. He also has a future in the front office. He wants to work with Jeff Stoutland. I say if he was younger, he might test free agency. But because, dude, the only reason I think he's 30, I bring him back. You're the 10th highest rated free agent. My God almighty, man. Dude, if he got in the open market and Kelce went out on the open market, if he doesn't retire, his agent's probably telling him, hey, he's leaning to playing in Philly or he's retiring. What if somebody comes in there and goes, I'll give him $15 million for 1 year? Why not do a 1 year deal, draft a center, same way Philly did, have an heir apparent? Kelce goes to a place like Cincinnati where they got money, and he goes there 1 year, Cincinnati, and Duke Tobin offers him $15 million. Don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities. I say there's a 95% chance that's not happening. Okay? Right. How about Denver? How about Arizona? How about Indianapolis? How about Carolina? How about Doug Peterson? How about Jason Kelce going to Doug Peterson and going down to Jacksonville? You're at Florida. You're in the hot weather. You're 36. Do I think that? No. But he could if he wanted. The 10th highest rated free agent is Jason Kelce. Man, what a career. First ballot Hall of Famer. Number 13 is James Bradbury, cornerback. I think the only reason that he's ranked higher than Chauncey Gardner is because the cornerback position is more coveted. Remember, what are the money positions? You always have to remember what's the money positions. And I think that's probably why Kelce's 10. The money positions in today's NFL: corner, edge, pass rusher, wide receiver, offensive line, quarterback. Those are your money positions. Rest of them, they're fill-in. Those are the money spots. Corner, with the way we throw the ball, this edge rushers, getting the quarterback on the ground, pass rusher. Wide receivers, they're kind of the appendage to the quarterback. Quarterback, obviously, and O-line. The rest of them, free agents and later draft choices. Okay? I mean, running backs today I don't know, like Bill Parcells had a rule he would never draft a guy in the first 3 rounds in his entire coaching career. He'd rather have a free agent like Otis Anderson, get a guy like Joe Morris, draft a guy who was hurt at Pittsburgh, do something like that. But Parcells never spent equity when it came on drafting running backs. That's not what he believed in. He thinks he's third dime a dozen. So Bradbury, ranked number 13. He's in the range of $16 to $18 million. Do you think Howie offers him 16 to 18? That's a no. So you've lost Hargrave and Bradbury. And it's not that they don't want these men back. The Eagles are paying for the price of winning and the contract structures. You know what's crazy? I don't believe Howie Roseman this past offseason, guys, went like this. Hey, guys, I'll give you a 1-year prove-it deal, and if you do it, we'll give you a contract. I didn't think that he would have to think that every one of these guys had career years and would be the most coveted guys at their respected positions. Nobody would think that. You would think guys would come back and be really good ball players, had a really solid year. You're able to offer them a team-friendly deal. These guys all had, and they were so far under market value that they exceeded expectations. Every one of the free agents that Howie brought in last year, I think exceeded expectations except for Robert Quinn. And all you really lost in that was about $4 million in the fourth round pick, which is kind of significant, but not going to kill you. Chauncey Gardner, 14-4. He's the 18th highest rated free agent out there. I don't believe they're going to use a franchise tag on him. Because 14-4 for a safety. That's pretty steep. I think somebody's going to come in and offer him a ton of money. May overpay. Remember something. He makes $826,000. Would he take $13, $12 million to stay in Philly? Depends on the years you give me. 3 years and an option? I might do that. Let me see what the signing bonus is. I may do that. I think he's a priority. I think they're going to try to make something work here with him. I think at the 18th ranked free agent for a safety is high. Here, how about this one? This is a shocker. The number 25th ranked free agent is TJ Edwards. Nobody's signing him for $20 million because that's what the franchise tag is. That's the market value for that position. I think he falls in the range between $5 million and $8 million. Could you see Howie paying for TJ Edwards between $5 and $8 million? I don't see that. Because again, this is not one of the positions that you spend big money. Look, how many Fred Warners and Roquan Smiths are there out there? 2? Name me another big-time money linebacker. I mean, Bobby Wagner even. Okay? Give me another big-time linebacker that makes a killing. There's like 2. I don't see it. I think they're going to go. By the way, we've got linebackers to look at too in the draft today. I think Edwards is gone. Because Edwards is going to go on the open market and make about $5-6 million. I don't think Howie goes. Number 27, free agent-wise, is Isaac Seumalo. He's so gone. There's about 30 teams that will take him at $14 million. This guy's got 2 NFC title rings. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He was coached by Jeff Stoutland. What a guy to bring into your offensive line to put stability in your O-line. Especially if you suck out loud there. We're going to go to Philly 500 here in a second, and I'll redo this with all, because these are the top 9 free agents out of the top 100. Seumalo's gone. Sanders wants to come back. I would offer Sanders this. 4 years, $20 million, $5 million. I want continuity. But again, there's a position there where you want to go young and cheap. That means you go into the draft. The number 3 wideout and running back. You got to pay your quarterback here. You're not paying him $5 million. Brandon Graham will probably work a deal. Fletcher Cox will probably be a mercenary like Dominic Sue's been the last 4 years. I don't have a problem with that. Good luck to you, man. Go to a team that could give you an opportunity to win another ring and make $6 million. Nothing wrong with that. He'll always be welcome back. Howie's got a lot of work to do here. Well, that being said, I wonder if he's officially over the Super Bowl. Let's bring my boy in. Philly 500.
I'm not over nothing. I'm not over nothing, Dan.
Hey, he was so aggravated with the Super Bowl, he had to take a vacation last week.
I had to go to Florida. Yeah, I had to get the hell out. Somebody had to go to Disney
as all
World,
the East
right?
Coast guys would say, hey, where'd you go for vacation? Florida.
Yeah, somebody had to go to Disney World. It wasn't my Eagles. Now I had business. I was all business, man. No pleasure, all business. Unfortunately,
tell me what your takeaways were from Super Bowl 57.
My number one fear going into the season came to fruition. I feel like Jonathan Gannon and that defense came one stop away from winning the Super Bowl. I think you get one stop in the second half, you win the Super Bowl. It came back and it bit us in the butt. it really bit us in the butt. There was a lot of different things that happened. There were a lot of opportunities for the Eagles to have, going up big in that game, right? You talk about the Hurts fumble. I thought the Devontae Smith overturned catch I thought that was a bad call. If you get 7 points going into halftime instead of 3, that might have been a big thing. But at the end of the day, you were up, 24-14, and you could not get one stop defensively in the second half. To me, that's what cost them the game.
How about the Quez Watkins drop?
Yeah, I mean, that's another one. That was right in his hands. I don't know if Jalen Hurts could throw a better pass than that. And he drops it. I mean, it was brutal.
I'll say this to you that, and I'll reiterate on it. I think Hurts was spectacular. He really was. Outside of the fumble, he's switching hands. That could happen to anybody at any time. No excuses, no off ramp. And obviously that was one of the plays that cost them was that turnover because it was a scoop and score. But again, too, you know what was missed on that? The face mask. You talk about the holding that they had that Bradbury said, but if you go back and watch that play, I think this was one of the worst officiated Super Bowls I've ever seen. And again, I don't want to sound like, sour cheese here, or I don't want to sound like that. But to me, it was a blatant face mask. And again, say it was the 5-yarder. That still nullifies the scoop and score.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I thought it was badly officiated too. I thought some of those calls were, and they were big calls. To me, that the hold with James Bradbury, I mean, maybe technically it's a hold, but man, I don't know how you call that in the Super Bowl with that time left. You could call a penalty. Let's face it. Every play we could find someone who's committing a penalty somewhere and call it. I just thought that was a horrible call. It's not why the Eagles lost, though. I got to say, I still think it comes down to the fact that that defense could not get one stop. Even the Jalen Hurts fumble that was a touchdown, the Eagles made up for it. They went down, they got the ball back, and they scored. They were up 10 at halftime. So to me, at the end of the day, I just really think that they got out-coached. I thought they made no good adjustments. And I thought Jonathan Gannon, what we worried about with him, came back and bit us.
I'll say this to you. I think that was the best coaching I've ever seen Andy Reid coach, especially in the second half. He was spectacular. And to your point about Patrick Mahomes, he was 90% in the second half. Philly, the only reason he wasn't 100% is because he had a throwaway. They could not stop him. That kid, Isaiah Pacheco, had a huge game. Nobody could cover him. I thought the secondary was confused because they were trying to pass off and they were running crossing routes. It confused them. Gannon was just so out-coached in that game. And it's not a shocker. It's Reid. It's Mahomes. That was my takeaway from that game, too. And what really sucks is it was right there. It's in your hand. I mean, it's right there.
I know.
And I'm going to say this to you, Philly. I don't know if Jalen Hurts will ever have a better roster in his time in Philadelphia ever again like what he had in 2022. And I'm going to make a comparison to you. Early in Russell Wilson's career, he had the Legion of Boom. He had Marshawn Lynch. He had a great offensive line. Well, once they started paying him, that thing started disintegrating, and they never got back to an NFC Championship game after those two they went to. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a whole different look over these next couple months here, and that was kind of my takeaway. With all that being said now, what's your biggest concern in the offseason?
Just how do you keep all that talent, or how do you replace it? That is my biggest concern. I think the Eagles need to be bold this all season. Like I think you can't sit back and say, "Well, we're just going to sign this guy, and we're going to just try to replace where we can." Like I think they need to do something very aggressive, something bold, something out of the box, something we're not thinking of, because when they do that, they go to the Super Bowl. They, if you look at 2016, right? I was thinking about this the other day. You look at 2016, that all season, they were very aggressive. They went out, got Alshon Jeffrey, right? They were aggressive in going out, up and getting Carson Wentz. They did a lot of things outside the box. They go and they win a Super Bowl. You go into last all season. They did a lot of things that people weren't expecting. A lot of things out of the box, like going and getting A.J. Brown, getting Hassan Reddick. I think that when they're bold, and especially Howie, when that front office is aggressive and they do things like that, they go to Super Bowls. So I think it's going to require some outside of the box type thinking, because obviously, you only have so much money. You got to pay Hurts. You got to do all these things. But I think they need to do something, and I don't know what, a little different than what they did last year.
How about bringing in Rex Ryan as your defensive coordinator?
Done. Done.
Well, that's outside the box. I mean, I'll tell you something about Rex. Rex is a very aggressive, and you may not like him as a head coach, but take a look at any. Now, he's been out of the game since 16, which is a bit, but I'll say this to you, dude. You bring a guy like that into your defense, and you put a guy like that as your defensive coordinator, you're going to have a top 5 unit.
Yeah. I mean, love Rex Ryan.
If you think Dan Quinn's good, see, Philly, and I like your thinking, because outside the box, you're not going to have the same personnel on defense. So you know what you have to have? You better have a coordinator that knows how to take chicken shit and turn it into chicken soup. Because if you don't, Howie's not going to be able to go to the ice cream stand and get Joseph and Sue next year, because if you pay Hurts, you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would love Ryan. Absolutely love him. Just the fact that he's, Buddy Ryan's son, I would love to bring him back. But will they do that? I have no idea. They haven't even interviewed him. But I do think that they got to. I think they got to stay aggressive, and I think they're going to do some things we don't expect. I just don't know what they are yet.
Would you go after Jalen Ramsey?
Possibly. I'd have to look at his numbers, but I think something like you have said in the past, where maybe you see a surprise trade, like a Darius Slay gets traded or something. Like I think that they have a good nucleus, but you got a lot of guys to replace, and you can't replace them all. So the question is what they're going to do. I don't know. Trade
Slay, rework his contract before you trade him, so it won't be that much of a cap hit. Sign Jesse Bates.
Yeah, you could. You could.
Not so much that player, but that kind of stuff is what you're talking about,
right? Yeah, I think they're going to have to do. I think everybody expects them to try to sign the guys that they have and bring as many guys back as they can, and they expect them to give Jalen Hurts the big contract. I think that's okay, but I think it's not enough. I think you need to do something that'll give you it may give your team a different look than last year, but I think something aggressive, I think something outside the box is what we need.
I had Seth Joyner on with me a couple days ago. Seth said that if he was given a conversation, he would talk to them about being the defensive coordinator, and he was on for about an hour and a half, Philly. And then we got him to say this, that if the circumstances were good, I would love to I would even consider taking a linebacker job. Do you think that's kind of outside the box too? Having a guy like that, being able to teach a guy like Nakobe Dean, boy, I'll tell you what, I don't think you can have enough experienced guys around young players to help them form what it takes to play in this league. Would you be for or against having a guy like Seth in the organization and working on the defensive side?
I would be all for it. I think Seth Joyner would be absolutely perfect. I was listening to that interview. So yeah, I remember what he was talking about. I would love to have Seth Joyner. Are you kidding? That would be absolutely great.
I do too, man. I at least get an idea of where he's going here. Hey, prior to you coming on, I had a list here. And, as you know, the combines are starting on Monday. All the guys, I think 365, show up in Indianapolis. Then on March 15th, that's when free agency starts. I said this, and before I give you a couple names here, do you think the Jalen Hurts deal gets done before March 15th? And I'll say this to you because it sets up your roster, what you can do free agency, what you're doing with your own team, and also kind of sets up your draft a little bit because it gives you the parameter of how much money you have to spend. And it will tell us a little bit more if they're far apart or they're close, because right now we're not hearing anything. To me, that's a good sign. That means they're probably working on framework. I'm thinking it probably gets done before March 15th. Where are you on this?
Yeah, I think it's going to get done. I think it's going to get done. And I think it's going to be structured, knowing Howie, I think it'll be structured in such a way that it won't hurt us this year against the cap, that it'll give us flexibility this year. So I trust Howie in that situation. I definitely think it's going to get done. But I got to tell you, when you hear things like Daniel Jones wants $45 million, which is a total joke. I mean, if he's getting $45 million, what do you got to give Hurts? It's got to be over $50 million.
Get this. There's somebody saying 7 years at $200 million, which would be 38 annually. I said this in New York the other day, and I told Craig Carton this. Man, if you're talking about $38 million, why don't you just go sign Derek Carr? You know he's better. I mean, I'm not spending that kind of money on a guy. I mean, do you know he's got almost identical numbers to Mitchell Trubisky?
No, but I'm not surprised.
That's who you're giving $200 million to is Mitchell Trubisky.
Right.
I don't see it, dude. And if you're an Eagle fan, you're like, hey, be another decade of the Giants being stupid.
Yeah, absolutely, do it. I would love to see 10 years. Give him a 10-year deal. I would love it. He stinks. Daniel Jones stinks.
He does, man. That's a 1-year flop coming there big time. All right, let me give you a couple names here. There's 9 guys that are on the top 100 top free agents. You're going to shit a brick where these guys are ranked.
Okay.
Javon Hargrave's number 3. This ain't me. This is heading into free agency, which means this. He's going to make between 6 or offered. He's going to be offered. And Minnesota, Chicago's got $94 million in cap space. New England's even in the mix for him. I know there's a 3-year, $51 million deal, but that's a little light in the purse strings here. Could you see Howie paying between $16 and $18 million for a defensive tackle that's marginal against the run, heck of a pass rusher? I mean,
I can. Yeah, I can. I mean, he's paid.
Now he gave
Fletcher
Cox 14 last year.
Yeah, so he gave Fletcher Cox a lot of money. I could see it. I could definitely see it. I would say yes. I can see that. I would say yes.
He's 30.
Yeah, that may be the. No, I still see it. I think they would do it, especially if they're going to lose Fletcher Cox. I think they do it. Yeah.
Number 10 is Jason Kelce. Does he retire or come back? This is crazy. The only reason Kelce's not higher on this list, I think, is because he is 36. Can you
I think
if he went on the open market,
back.
Philly, he could probably get $15 million on a 1 or 2 year deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, but he wants to stay. I believe he don't want to go anywhere. He wants to be part of the organization. Do you think he plays or comes back?
I think he comes back. I think he's coming back. And I don't think he'll go anywhere else. I think he wants to be in Philly. I think he's just that type of guy. So I think Kelce's coming back.
Bradbury's the number 13 highest rated defensive player. I think the only reason he's rated higher over Chauncey Gardner is because it's a cornerback position versus a free safety. Now we're talking in between $16 and $18 million for a guy who had a Pro Bowl type season. You see the Eagles paying between $16 and $18 million for him.
No, because if it was just him and Slay wasn't on the team, I would say yeah. But I think the fact that you already have Slay, I don't think so. I think he's gone. I hate to say I really want him back.
You think with that 10th pick, they probably slide into a corner at that 10th pick?
Corner or defensive end? Right. I think a defensive end or a corner they're going to go. But here's the thing. everybody's talking about them staying at 10 or trading back. What if they trade up? Like, nobody's talking about what if there's a premier person up in the top 5
There's
that they
two
want?
defensive ones,
Maybe,
Will Anderson and
maybe
Kid Carter
you go
from Georgia.
Well, maybe that's the outside the box thing right there. You got 2 first-round picks. Maybe you go up and you get somebody like that.
So wait a minute. Watch this. So you get the Kid Carter from Georgia. You got Jordan Davis and you got Nakobe Dean. Then you hire the coordinator at Georgia who
There you go.
And by the way, I know that people look around and go, what does a coordinator in college know about the NFL? Here's where the secret sauce is in that. Philly, think about all the players in the United States that he's been recruiting over the last 7 years
Right.
for Kirby Smart. He knows guys all over the league and guys that are in the current draft and guys that are going to be in the next 3 drafts. His knowledge of all the players that Howie could go to and go, what do you make of this guy? The only reason he's not a first rounder is because he's not 6'5", he's 6 foot. This guy's a really good player. We recruited him. I love the kid. And now he's being talked about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying he knows any more than, say, a Leonard or a Gannon, but I'm saying he knows more about the personnel that's coming up and in the league currently.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. And we have to hit on our picks. I mean, that's when you're going to lose the amount of free agents you're going to lose. You've got to hit on your picks.
Chauncey Gardner at 18, you think he goes 14-4?
Yeah, he's coming back. I think of all the guys that
safety, you're going to pay almost $15 million.
I think he's coming back. I think a lot of it has to do with age, but I do think he's coming back, and I do think they'll pay him.
26. How about Edwards at number 25? I'm really shocked he's this high. That's between $5 and I would say $8 million.
Yeah, that's a tough one because if you look at the history of the Eagles past, they don't like paying linebackers. So I'm going to say he goes. I'm going to say he's going.
That's right. It's not on the money. Here are the money positions. Philly, this is why you're here, and this is why I like you. You know the money positions: corner, pass rusher, receiver, O-line, quarterback. Those are your money positions. The rest of them, you can fill them in. I mean, we were talking about linebackers. Think about this, Philly. Outside of Roquan Smith and Fred Warner in San Francisco, who are the big-time money guys making linebacker? I mean, Bobby Wagner's not even making gigantic money in Los Angeles. So, I mean, that position has lost so much value. Yeah. It's like running back.
I agree. Yeah.
I should say a model. The market is going to be – dude, 30 teams could have him on. But he's going to cost you $14 to $15 million.
I think he's going. And it's going to be interesting if Kelsey comes back, if they'll move Juergens, if they think Juergens can play guard. That would be interesting to me.
How about this one? If you're the Eagles, you could lose your center and your right guard.
Right.
I mean, and your running back. You got 3 quality guys, three quality starters that could be taken off that offense. The number one thing you want to do is continue the development of Jalen Hurts.
Right.
This is kind of like what I was talking to you about, Russell Wilson, starting to take components away from him and chipping away at that. That's chipping away at that. So I would think the Eagles if they would beg Kelsey to come back another year.
Yeah, I think so. I do think he's going to come back. I just got this feeling he's going to come back. So what I'm curious about is Juergens, because I think Juergens is a big time player. So do they think he can play right guard for a year? Because if so, then you slide him right into say a Malu's spot, and you're good to go.
Miles Sanders, kind of a cryptic tweet he put out there that he wants back. Hey, would you pay a guy that had 1,300 yards, $20 million over 4 years? It's $5 a year.
5 a year? Yeah, maybe 5 a year. But I don't know.
See,
I don't think Miles
be more valuable. Philly, he's going to be more valuable somewhere else, though, not here.
Right. The thing with Miles is the way that they kind of use him, and to me, a lot of times they underuse him. It's hard for me to believe that they're going to pay him. I would like to bring Miles back if he wants to come back for the right price, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Brandon Graham, number 61.
I bring him back. I know he's older. I know, but I think he'll take a team-friendly deal is what my hope is. Also, I just think he means so much to that team, as a leader defensively, that if I can get him back, I would.
How about this? Then I'll put them all into a last question here for you. How important is it bringing Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Jason Kelce back? Because those are leaders in your locker room.
Right.
Those three guys, and I'm not talking pick one or the other. I'm saying,
right.
Do you think it's a priority for Howie and Nick and all those guys to have some kind of continuity with the players that have been through the ups and downs of the organization, know what it's about to be the Philly way, and it's a priority that somehow to try to bring those three guys back, especially when you got a ton of new faces potentially showing up on the defensive side?
Yeah, perhaps. I think so. But I really think Fletcher Cox is not going to be back. Like, I think Kelce, he's still playing at a high level. Brandon Graham's coming off his best year. I think Fletcher Cox isn't the same player he was a few years ago. And I think the Eagles need to be very careful, too, because if you remember, after they won the Super Bowl, they signed a lot of guys back, a lot of guys that were older and really, at the end of their career, and it kind of hurt us for a few years. So I think you have to have some turnover. I think Graham comes back, and I think Kelce, because they still play at a high level. I'm not sure Fletcher Cox does. Especially this, too, Dan. You have Hargrave and you have Jordan Davis. You just traded up. You drafted a 13th pick overall. You took Jordan Davis. You kind of need him to take over for Fletcher Cox.
You think Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean are ready?
No, I think maybe with one good offseason, maybe they will. My hope is that Jordan Davis will improve greatly as a pass rusher this offseason, because to me, he's got to become a better pass rusher, and he's got to be in better shape. I think Nakobe Dean, one good offseason, I think he can play. I think he can play where TJ Edwards was.
You know what, though, Philly? I think it's important who's in front of him. And here's why I say that. Nakobe Dean was a star at Georgia when you had Walker, Carter, Davis,
right,
all of them enormous and super talented guys. And he was able to scrape lane it, which means go up and down the sideline and play with those big horses in front of him. I think Milton Williams is a good ball player. I think he improved a lot. He showed me he can play. There's some talent there. I mean, I like the kid. He's a frontline type kid. But if you don't have big dudes that could keep that kid clean,
right,
I think one of the reasons why people in the NFL had issues about Nakobe Dean was his health and whether or not he can sustain playing 17 games. So I think I think that's part of the reason why they're probably talking to the DC of Georgia.
Yeah, maybe. I think that would be a very interesting hiring if they do. But yeah, I think based upon the way the Eagles pay the linebackers and stuff in the past, the fact that they took him there's a third round, I think he's going to get a shot. Now, is he ready or not? We'll find out. But I think he's going to get an opportunity to play this year.
I do too. Man, it's going to be great. March 15th, we got the combines on Monday, then the April draft. Dude, we're right around the corner again, man. I can't. Hey, okay, so do they give Hurts $50 million?
Yeah. I think he's going to get it. But I think, like I said, I think it's going to be set up in a way that it won't kill us against the cap this year. That's the one thing that Howie's good at, manipulating that cap, manipulating the number. Every year, I can tell you, I hear people tell me, the Eagles can't do nothing. They got no room. They got no money. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 Howie Roseman goes to work, and we got $30 million here, $40 million there. So I think they'll be able to do it. But if I can structure that deal so it does not hurt me next year, then hopefully you can bring some guys back.
Philly, thank you, man. A lot of fun, my friend. Hey, don't forget to check Philly 500 on his podcast. It's one of the best there is out there. Just take a look at Brad Pitt. That's his clone right there, Brad Pitt. So make sure you watch his podcast.
Denzel
Brother,
Washington, but Brad Pitt's close enough. Denzel Washington, but Brad Pitt's close enough. I'll take it,
Brother, I appreciate it, man. We'll catch you down the
you, man.
line.
All
You
right,
got it.
peace.
That's my friend. Please hit the like button. We're going to take a timeout. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
My name is Fran Salerno. I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Did you know taxes could be your biggest expense during retirement? Are most of your assets in tax-deferred accounts like IRAs and 401ks? Taxes are historically low today, but we're facing significant headwinds in the future. Do you have a plan? The Thrive Financial team has more than 100 years of experience helping people across the Delaware Valley with forward-looking tax planning. Learn how to shift your money from forever tax to no or low tax accounts. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
Big Sills, National Football Show. We're going to sweep into hour number 2, so we appreciate everybody coming aboard. Thank you so much, and I appreciate Philly 500 for coming aboard with us here. I want to throw this at you here. I tweeted this out earlier at Dan Sileo Show, and you guys aren't following me on Twitter, please do. I want to show you something here. What's the number, Tone, that they're talking about for Daniel Jones in New York? Something like 7 years, $210 million, or a shorter deal at $45 million, which is an absolute joke. Is that the number they're talking about, Tone? Something like that, right? Crazy numbers for Daniel Jones. I'm going to throw this at you here. Watch this. Mitchell Trubisky in 55 starts, 31-24, 68 touchdowns, 38 picks, 11,904 passing yards, 86.4 passer rating, 64% completion percentage. Daniel Jones, 53 starts. He's 21-31 and 1. 60 touchdowns, 30 picks. 11,603 in passing yards. 86.5 passer rating, almost identical. And 64 quarterback completion percentage. You're going to pay $190 million to Mitchell Trubisky? That's who this guy is. That's who this guy is. He's Mitchell Trubisky. The Giants are really... Hey, by the way, when Brian Daboll had Mitchell Trubisky up in Buffalo, he looked like a completely different dude too. Why don't you just go sign this guy for less money? Mitchell Trubisky looked pretty good in Buffalo. You're going to sign Daniel Jones for 35? Man, not in a chance. Like I said, if I'm going to pay $35 million for a quarterback, I'm going to pay it for Jimmy G, or I'm going to pay it for Derek Carr. I'm not going to pay that insane amount of money to sit here and go like this. Well, hey, man, you know what? We drafted him in. Why? Because you drafted him in the first round? It's a failure. Daniel Jones is a failure watch this. We're now determining whether he could play in the league or not. Not whether or not he's. How about this? If you put Daniel Jones on the trade market or you put him on the free agent market, who would pay him $31 million or $35 million? Nobody. Why should the Giants pay him? Let him go on the free agent market and then let him crawl back. Who would pay $35 million for Daniel Jones? Would the Niners? No. Would Carolina? No. Would anybody pay $30 million for him? No. He hasn't won. And when he was in, so you want me to pay a guy who had a great game against an overrated Vikings team? Jesus criminy, guys. There's got to be some common sense here. There's got to be some common sense. That's right. I just, like Tone said, I'm going to make that guy crawl back with his ass in his hand going, hey, man, maybe I'll take $25 million. See, the Giants are sitting here going, man, $35 million? That means I've got to put Barkley on the open market? Why would I do that? Barkley's more important to me having him. But here's the problem with Barkley. Do you want to pay $10 million for a guy who's been banged up? I don't know. Giants got a bunch of issues too. Look at all these teams that have issues. Dude, I'm not paying $10 million for Barkley, and I'm not paying $35 million. Those guys are lesser talented guys. I'll tell you what I would do if I were the Giants. I would let Barkley roll, sign Miles Sanders, and go get Garoppolo, and then sign DeAndre Hopkins. Then I'm going to compete in the NFC East. That's how I'm going to save money, get better. I'm going to upgrade my and I'm going to draft wide receivers in the draft. That's how I'm going to get better. I'm going to cut loose of Barkley, who's been constantly injured, get younger and cheaper at running back. I'll tell you what, I'll sign the kid from Texas. I'll take the kid Robinson from Texas. Get DeAndre Hopkins. Sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm going to compete. I got a good defense, and I got a great coach. Dude, why in the world would I sign a running back who gets banged up all the time and a guy who had one game in his entire career where everyone went, whoa, and the rest of them games sucked? Daniel Jones hasn't done shit to warrant even a conversation on $35 million. And you're throwing 45 out? I would start laughing. I don't know how the Giants are not laughing at them. I don't give a shit if you change agents, wives, zip codes. I'm not picking the phone call up again. I would say this to Daniel Jones. Hey, look, son, we want you to come back in some form or fashion, but you better have a serious conversation the next time you pick that fucking phone up, because the next time you do and you start barking stupid shit like this, these conversations have ended forever. I would be very candid with him. You are in a different world. You are valuing yourself more than what we value. We want you back, but I would you know why I would be an asshole to him? Do you know why I'd be an asshole to Daniel Jones? Because he's being an asshole to us. When you make a preposterous offer like that, that's an asshole move. Well, you're going to get the best Sileo asshole you've ever seen. Son, the next time you call me, you better call collect, and you better beg me, and you better pray I'm in a good mood, because the last conversation we had, I wanted to take a shit on you. $45 million. Kid, there's nobody on our team worth $45 million. You're not the best talent on my team. The D tackle's better than you. I don't care what you think of yourself. I would give that kid one more call. You better beg me, man, or I'm going to do this. Son, go be a free agent. I don't give a shit. And then I would call Derek Carr up. Go, Derek, I got a contract, 3 years, $35 million, with incentives that could pay you potentially $40 million. Sign. We're in. And we're going to go get you DeAndre Hopkins. And with that 10 additional, I'm going to do this. I'm not signing Barkley. I'm sending Barkley's ass out and giving it to Hopkins, and then I'm drafting a wide receiver in the draft. And I'm going to go to him and go like this. I'm going to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. The tight end's pretty decent. I'm going to sign Miles Sanders for $5 million. Or I'm going to draft a kid from Texas using my pick, and I'll get a wideout in the second round. What do you want me to do? Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, damaged goods, and a dumbass. Seriously. And Tone, you can print that one. You got damaged goods and a dumbass. That's why the Giants have not been relevant since Jerry Reese was in the building and Tom Coughlin. Because you make shit dumbass moves like that. Man, I'm seriously, man. Hey, I want our relationship to be in a good place too. You call me up and start barking $45 million at me, you're going to get asshole sills. Kid, don't ever call me again with these kind of demands. Because as far as I'm concerned, our conversations are over with. They are over with. And personally, I don't want to hear from any of your agents. I want to hear from you. You're the one that changed your agents. They called me $45 million. Shit. The guy in Philly is going to get that. Okay? The guy in Baltimore is going to get that. Those guys have built equity up to have that conversation. You haven't. Beating the overrated Vikings doesn't mean you're a $45 million guy. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Because of what I like what they're doing in Philly, I'm going to draft Anthony Richardson and get out of my office. As a matter of fact, I'm so pissed off. If I'm the GM of the Giants, I'm so pissed off at Daniel Jones. I've instructed my scouting team on the college scouting side, on college personnel, to start looking at quarterbacks. And maybe I'll trade up. Or maybe I'll call Baltimore and go, hey, how'd you like to trade Lamar Jackson to the Giants? They got $53 million in cap space. Hey, Baltimore, to cost them. You think about trading Lamar Jackson? I got all kinds of areas. Draft, Jackson. Talk to Geno's people. Give me a buffer in between the draft guy. Listening to Daniel Jones talk to me about, you know what I would rename his ass? Hey, Pennies Jones. Don't come into an arcade with pennies when you need quarters. That's what you just did. Get out. Wow, would I be angry at that? I mean, they must have started laughing. Hey, when you start getting up into that neck of the woods, 38 million, what's an extra 12? Go get Lamar Jackson. How insane is that? Just dumb. You took that. That's how you leverage yourself off your team. Right there. That's exactly how you leverage yourself off the team. Because now you've created this in the building. All right, get all the scouts looking at all the kids that are going into the draft, including Bryce Young. How do you know the Giants don't cut a deal to try to get up to number one, to get Bryce Young? Dude, everything's on the table now after that Jones move in New York. That's me. You know, I've got so much built-up animosity towards Daniel Jones, I may do shit just to spite him. You got to keep cool here, man. Maybe that's why I couldn't be a GM, because, man, would I be on fire after that. I'd put that phone down, and as soon as I put that phone down, I would just look at my guys in the building and go, hey, Brian, this guy ain't our guy, and I don't want him here. He ain't that good. He's not a $35 million quarterback. Screw the fact he's talking 45. I'd be like, I'm out on this kid. Let's go get a rookie. Move that. By the way, there's no financial hit to them. Why? They didn't pick the 5th-year option up. So, you know what? Jones thinks he has leverage because he played well against Minnesota. Seriously, he thinks he has leverage because he played well against Minnesota. Well, here's my leverage. There's no cap hit here. Get out. Nobody in their right mind is paying you $35 million. You know why? Baker Mayfield proved that. Nobody's doing it. Shit, give me Baker Mayfield. I get the same shit out of Baker Mayfield I could get out of Daniel Jones. With Brian Dable coaching Baker Mayfield, I might be up for that. Pennies Jones. That's his new freaking name. I hate that guy. You know, Jalen Hurts. The reason I don't like paying dual threat guys is because of that. Not because of Jalen. Jalen's got no attitude. But the difference between Jalen and Dimes Jones, Jalen has played his way into the conversation. This guy's talked his way in. This guy's shit. You know what, Dibben? Give me Gardner Minshew in New York. Be all right with that too. Why? I probably get just as far with Gardner Minshew as I did with Daniel Jones. Hey, I could get killed by the Eagles the same way with Gardner Minshew as I can with Daniel Jones. Give me Gardner Minshew. I could get killed like that and not have to pay anything. Shit, man. If the 49ers can build a roster and have a guy who's making less than $1 million and get you to the NFC Championship game, Gardner Minshew could do the same shit for me. I ain't paying that guy. Wow. I've done just about enough Daniel Jones shit that I want. I wish I could have 5 minutes of my life back. I wish I could have 5 minutes of my life back because I really don't give a shit about that guy anymore. And if I'm the New York GM, I have the same attitude. I just wasted 5 minutes of my life that I wish I could get back. Okay? Because I really deep down don't care. I'd be like, man, shit, I just got all upset and wasted 5 minutes of my life, and now I wish I could have it back. Jesus, please. Man, if I wish I had a gold pen for every 5 minutes I wasted on guys like Daniel Jones. I just wasted 5 minutes of my life. All right. One of the things that we did here today, we were going over the Eagle free agents, and also we looked at some of the cornerbacks that were in the draft. And again, here's the Eagles picks. Okay? 10, 30 in the first round. In the second round, 62. Third round, 94. 2 sevens, one at 222 and the other one at 250. Now, this is before your compensation picks come in. And you're going to have quite a few comp picks that are going to be stepping into this. So what we did was earlier we looked at cornerbacks. Would you say let's take a look at the DTs. Do you think the Eagles would take a look at a defensive tackle at number 10? You think they would take a look at another DT at 10? And don't think Carter. And don't think Carter. Jalen Carter's a top 5 pick. He's everything. Pass rusher, run defender, quickness, 2 moves. Can play in the 2 gap, 3 gap, 0 gap. Can play over the center. You can shade him. You can play him in the gap. You can slide him out to end. This guy is as good a defensive tackle prospect since Ndamukong Suh when he came out of Nebraska. This kid is as good as it gets. Could I see Howie trading up to get him? Here, guys, what if the Eagles sign the defensive coordinator from Georgia, Greg Schumann? Would the Eagles then be interested in moving up to get Carter and team him next to Davis? That's a lot of money for tackles, though. When I'm not sure the Eagles, like Seth said the other day, I'm not sure the Eagles care that much about run defense. Okay? However, you had Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the middle. Jalen Carter is a Jerome Brown type. Would you want Jerome Brown on that D-line? That frees up the Kobe Dean. You would have Carter and Davis as your tackles. That helps Dean get on the field. And again, on rookie contracts, not expensive. Okay? Remember something, Yale. You're saving $18 million here. Then you're saving another $14 million by not having Fletcher Cox back. You're, in theory, saving $30 million, and you're paying 2 tackles on rookie contracts. And one's an exceptional talent, and Jalen Carter. Which, and again, I'm spitballing here. Okay? Yeah, but wait a minute. Bird goes, they need a corner. Well, if I got 2 rookie dudes and my defensive tackles, I could pay Gardner Johnson $14 million, or I could pay Bradbury $15 million then. Because I didn't and don't have to spend $18 million on Javon Hargrave. I could spend that money on the corner and keep Bradbury. Remember, move the money around. You want to sign, and the priority is that secondary. Okay. Well, the draft, because of your equity with 2 1s, the draft that you have, okay, and because the quarterback situation has been pretty much figured out, you could trade up to Carter, get him, put him on a rookie deal, jettison Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave, have 2 rookies on rookie contracts making $1 million apiece, and you could sign Bradbury in your secondary and have your 2 corners back. Probably lose Gardner Johnson. It's a safety. See, I know you guys love Gardner Johnson, but I'm not spending $15 million on a safety. $15 million on a safety? You found this guy, and the Saints didn't want him, and there's a reason he was making $826,000. He played center field. All those guys did was play center field. Now, I have a problem playing 2 corners, that kind of money to play center field, until I find out who your coordinator is. Here's another guy to think about. Brian Breeze, Clemson. He's another first-day guy. He's a Clemson guy. They put out some really good football players. I like the player. Again, at 10, only if I find out who my coordinator is and what the money I have to spend. This Jalen Hurts thing is really over the organization right now, because this is why they haven't had any contracts redone or re-signed anybody. Why is that? They don't know how much money yet they got to pay. Porter Jr. at 10 is overdrafting. I told you that in the first hour. He's not the 10th pick. He's somewhere around 21. See, GT wants to use the 10th pick on a guy like the Eagles did last year on Jordan Davis, who was the 13th pick. Jordan Davis is not the 13th pick. Jordan Davis is the 25th pick. He should have went between, like I said, 22 and 25 last year, not 13. He's not the 13th pick. He'll never be the 13th pick. He's not a pass rusher. He was never and has never, in 10 years of football, he's never been a pass rusher. And he's never going to be. He has never, 9 sacks in 43 starts at Georgia. Remember I kept telling you, not a lot of production. And it kind of played itself out this year. 0 sacks. He got hurt. Okay. It's still who he is. Buddy, that could be right. Between 15 and 22, somewhere there. That sounds right. Okay? They overdrafted him. Look, here's examples. Jason Kelsey, obviously underdrafted. Okay, I mean, the guy's a Hall of Famer. Okay, I mean, shit, you can even say Nick Foles was underdrafted. Those are guys that are under. Tom Brady, severely underdrafted. Marshall says, love the idea, but not paying declining Slay and 30-year-old zone corner in Bradbury. Give me Chauncey on the deal, and I love it. Marshall, I think you're right, because last year it didn't hurt you because you weren't paying anybody in the secondary, but the guy Slay. And this is one of the things that really allowed the autonomy to be able to go and get an A.J. Brown and some other people and pay all the guys that you're paying now. And what you did was you paid 2 guys in the secondary, basically Bradbury and Slay, to play center field. They weren't man coverage. I mean, they get this, Slay and Bradbury aren't man corners. So how could you think that they're the best corners and the best duo in the NFL when they don't play man? They play zone, which means you're a center fielder. You're going to pay $30 million on guys who play center field? Dude, you know what? You pay $15, $16 million for a guy who's a lockdown corner. You know what a lockdown corner is? It ain't Slay, and it ain't Bradbury. Why do you think the Giants moved off him? They put him in a system that he could play center field and play 48 yards off the ball? That's not $15 million. That's why when you guys had to cover people in the Super Bowl, you couldn't. Yale, think about this for a second. You know what Andy Reid did? He actually made the Eagle corners have to cover someone by running them crossing routes. He knew they couldn't. Because why? They're not man corners. He identified their talent. He knew the scheme. He may have got that from Doug. Jonathan Gannon is a zone cover. Jonathan Gannon is a zone defensive coordinator. Buddy Ryan is an aggressive blitzing D coordinator. So is Dan Quinn. So is Vic Fangio. So is Leonard. So are guys like that. Even Vance Joseph. Those guys are more aggressive. 70 sacks had nothing to do with Jonathan Gannon. Had nothing to do. I see Bobby Wagner's been cut. Money. Could probably still play. Okay? What's his age? Tell me how old he is, and I'll tell you how much I'll give him. Okay? Honest question. Why are you so mean to... I'm not mean to anybody, man. That's a you thing, dude. You think I'm mean? Not me. I'm not mean to anybody. Bobby Wagner's 32. 32 at a position that doesn't warrant a lot of dough. Bobby Wagner, 32. On a shitty Rams team who had no impact. Most of their guys quit. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. If I'm going to pay $5 or $6 million, I'm going to bring Edwards back. Been in my system, knows my culture. It's continuity. No, thank you. I'll take TJ Edwards over an overdone and overcooked Bobby Edwards. I have no interest. I have no interest. Bobby Wagner, I have no interest in that. Dude, he was terrible last year. He's 32. Now, dude, you can't waste money like that. If I'm going to do anything and spend that kind of money, I'm going to go and draft a guy in the draft. Joseph goes, screw that. If Sills was a sweetheart, no one would listen. This is where I get my frustration. Maybe the person's right. I get my frustration out on talking to folks. I don't know, man. Rams gave him 5 years at $50 million. 20 millions in guarantees. And they just cut him. Not me. I don't want anything near that mess. No, thank you. And he was a turd last year. Okay? That guy's on a retirement severance plan now. He's looking for teams that he can go in there and rob. You know, I always tell people this. Guys like Bobby Wagner, at least Jesse James, when he robbed banks, used a gun. This guy's using his reputation now to rob banks. He was a disaster in Los Angeles. I mean, seriously, at least Jesse James used a pistol. Oh, no. Hey, right, Tone? If there's dumbasses will be out there and give him money like that. That's a prime example. Get this. Look at, hey, Eagle people. You can laugh all you want at the Rams. They won the Super Bowl the year before. They made some poor decisions. They didn't make the playoffs. Don't laugh too hard. Because some of the decisions that you make, and by the way, they brought Cooper Kupp back, Matthew Stafford back. They gave those two guys money. Cooper Kupp took a hometown discount. Stafford got a new contract. Win the Super Bowl. Everybody's happy. Gave Sean McVay a brand new $20 million deal. Make the playoffs. After winning the Super Bowl. Oh, the Eagles won't be in that position. You hired the wrong DC and make the wrong moves by giving Bobby Wagner or guys like that money. You won't make the playoffs. Got to stop people too, folks. Dak Prescott against your so-called number 2 ranked defense carved you up. And the guy in Kansas City was so efficient in the second half against that so-called defense. They were scoring at will. I like this kid, Keenan Benton. He's a day 2 guy, defensive tackle, somebody to look at. Because you got to get young. You're going to have young guys on your team. Going to have young dudes. Let's take a look at the linebackers. Wait a minute. I got a bigger list here. I got running backs too. You think they could take an edge rusher at 10? You think the Eagles could take an edge rusher at 10? Here's the top edge rushers. I got 9 of them. Will Anderson will be the 3rd player taken in the draft. Could be 2. Okay? Would they move up from 10 to him? Probably not. Okay? Now, if they get the college defensive coordinator, they could. Spectacular talent. I would compare Will Anderson to Derek Thomas coming out of college. He's the best defensive player that Nick Saban has ever coached at LSU, Alabama, Toledo, and Michigan State. He's the best football player he's ever coached. Is Will Anderson. I think he would fit in a 34 better than a 43. So, you know, you want to line him up on the weak side. Not saying he couldn't play strong side. I think he's better than Micah Parsons. I think he's more active. He could cover backs. He could cover tight ends. He's physical. He's smart. He's been coached hard. There's nothing not to like about him. His footwork is great. His hips, his swivel, the fact that he gets off blocks. When he engages, he gets off. When you watch him, he is a talent. I think the kid Carter, though, I think it's going to be between him and Carter, who was the first defensive player taken, or non-quarterback position taken. It's going to depend who the coordinator is at that respected spot on what they want and what their needs are. But Carter and Anderson are I would say this to you. Of all the players in the draft, Carter and Will Anderson are the 2 best players in the draft and will make the biggest impact. The quarterbacks, it's a need position. That's why you overdraft a position. But to me, the 2 best players are Anderson and Carter, the defensive tackle from Georgia. Complete, both of them. Exceptional athletes. Exceptionally productive. I mean, you look at the numbers. You just look at the way they play, the way their effort is. They constantly never give up on plays. It's everything you want in a football player. And I also love the fact that Will Anderson played in the Sugar Bowl. They played him sparingly, but he still wanted to be there for his guys. That told me a little bit about him, too. He's a team guy like Jalen. That told me something about him and Bryce Young playing in that Sugar Bowl, where most guys today would never play in that game, especially a guy who's going to make the money Will Anderson played. I got to tell you, man, I'm very impressed by him. He's a talented kid, and he's a kid I would love to have on my football team. Okay? Number 2, I've been talking about this kid a lot to you. He kind of has been flying under the radar, but Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech, he's ranked the number 7 prospect in the upcoming NFL draft. Now, again, some of these could change after the combines, which start on Monday. But this kid's a big kid, 6'5 and a half. I watched him play. I watched him hurdle an offensive guard. And if I had to compare him with somebody, he reminds me of the kid Burns in Carolina. Brian Burns. I got it, Dank. Texas Tech. But remember something, Dank. When you play at Texas Tech and you're in that conference, the Big 12, remember something. You get a lot of pass rushing opportunities. And so you get to see technique. And again, Patrick Mahomes came out of Texas Tech. Had a losing record there too. But he threw the ball all over the yard. You saw ability and talent. Nobody played defense. That was why he went. And then the Kansas City Chiefs did their homework on him. That's why they moved up in the draft to get him. Okay? This kid's a good player, this kid Wilson. He's a good athlete. His hands are spectacular. Gets off blocks, knows leverage. You could put him in a 3, 5, 7, 2, and 1. You could play him inside or outside. He's a pretty good ball player, man. Lucas Van Ness, Iowa. My problem with guys from the Big Ten. Now, I was surprised by the way Aiden Hutchinson played. He was really good this year. And if it wasn't for the play and the guy in New York, Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson wins the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. He was productive. I thought he was very active against the Eagles in that opener. I thought he was really active. And this kid's kind of like that. Active, great engine, continues to run to the ball, even when it's away, doesn't quit on plays. He's constantly in the backfield, which means he's looking for the ball all the time. It's good. You're looking for production. Okay? He's going to be a workout freak when he gets to the combines next week. It would not shock me if that number goes from 12, he's a 12th ranked prospect, to being in the top 10. Because he's one of those guys too. He's a workout freak. The Kalifatis kid from Purdue who plays now at Kansas City. I think this kid Van Ness is a better talent and a better athlete than him. And I thought the kid from Purdue had a pretty good year this year. He was more productive than I thought he was going to be. Okay? He was more productive. He was more productive than I thought. You know, Miles Murphy has kind of slid. He's down to 19 now. Going into this last year that he was at Clemson, he was a top 5 prospect. He's at 19 now. I always worry about when you see a guy sliding like that. Why? I mean, Clemson the last 2 years has kind of slid as a program a little bit. Their defense hasn't been as productive either. And he's been in that situation. There's a lot of talent at Clemson, but why is he slid? I'd have to do my homework on him. He's ranked right now at 19. I'd have to do a little bit more homework on him and get why he slid and the way he slid. Now, the offense has not been good at Clemson, so their defense has been on the field more. You know, when you come out of having Trevor Lawrence and you come out of having Deshaun Watson and you've got elite quarterbacks and then you miss on that quarterback and your defense is on the field more, you're gonna compile bigger stats defensively, but you're also going to put yourself in a position where your unit's not as good because you're on the field longer. Okay? I'd want to talk to the kid because I think he's a talent. Big kid, 6'5", 265 pounds. He can play. How about this kid? Somebody put this guy on my board, and I couldn't believe it. Andre Carter III. He's the number 24 prospect. He's kind of right in the middle between 10 and 30 for the Eagles. You know where he plays? Army. This guy plays at West Point. So do you understand why this is rare? I can't think of a military academy guy in the top of first in the top rounds. Napoleon Kaufman? Can you think of anybody? I know there was a kid at Pittsburgh, Villanueva, who played offensive line, but he wasn't a first. I don't think he was a. I don't think he was a first round draft choice. Yeah, they play Notre Dame. Okay, I mean they play Notre Dame here. That's a good point. Yeah, I'll tell you what. So Yale goes, they don't play anybody. Well, then how the hell did Carson Wentz get drafted? Who'd they play? 2022 Army football schedule.
On December 10th, 2020,
let's see who they played. Oh. They played Coastal Carolina, Wake Forest, Air Force, UConn, Navy, Villanova, Colgate, Louisiana Monroe, UMass, I don't know. Hey, but I've heard discipline. Do you understand what these guys have to do? Like I've told you this. How many times I've been to Philadelphia and Baltimore for the Army-Navy game? A guy like this kid Carter is 275 pounds. Do you know that these guys have 2 months to get down under 235 pounds because they got to jump out of airplanes? And some of the offensive linemen that are 335 pounds have the same amount of time, and it takes a lot of discipline to go to West Point, to be a student, and to be a football star. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, I just love that attitude. And maybe I'm an old school guy here, but man, I'm attracted to this guy, Andre Carter III. I'm attracted to that. And maybe he falls out of the first round because he's right now at number 24. Man, I'd scoop him up in the second round in a minute. I watch him play too. I think he's pretty good. Always in shape. You never have to worry about him never giving you 100% effort. I get it. I get the competition. I'm a little concerned about that, but shit, man. We see guys drafted in those shitty programs all the time people take gambles on. How about taking a gamble on a guy who actually works his ass off instead of a guy who moans about it all the time like Wentz? Would you rather draft a guy out of West Point or Carson Wentz out of North Dakota State? Okay? Nolan Smith, Georgia, number 26, ranked. I love this kid. I love anybody from Georgia. I'll tell you what. Now I'm starting to get a sense why they're talking to the defensive coordinator at Georgia. Here's another kid. Get this. Look at this. Guys, check this out. Here's another Georgia kid. Jalen Carter, top defensive tackle. Nolan Smith, Georgia, 26th top-ranked edge rusher. They've got a cornerback that's ranked 13th. I don't know, man. There's a ton of kids. He's a good-looking prospect, too. Will McDonald, Iowa State, number 31. That would close out the first round. Wait. Yeah, Kansas City's at that pick. There's not 32 picks because the Dolphins forfeited their first round because of that whole bullshit that went on with Tom Brady and the tampering. So they lost their first round. He's another good-looking prospect. Here's this kid, B.J. Ojulari, LSU. He is a really good-looking football player. Another Ed Ogeron guy. Look at all the LSU guys that Ed Ogeron has put in the National Football League. He's put a ton of them. Tulu Palola, the USC kid. My problem with USC, name me the top defensive player from Southern Cal that plays in the NFL today. Name me one. Name me one. The kid from the Jets? Right? The kid from the Jets? Can you think of anybody that they've put out? Okay, the safety from San Francisco. The kid's a good ball player. Okay, Hufanga, the kid from San Francisco. He's a really good player. Williams. Yes, all these guys are defensive ends and edge rushers. All right, let me take a timeout. Some more NFL news. By the way, I got some running backs. And I want to talk about this kid that you guys love a lot. His name is Robinson from Texas. I'm going to make a comparison. Barrett Brooks and I were talking about this kid a little bit earlier. And some of you think that the Eagles should draft him at 30. Let's hit on that. We're going to do that. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
My name is Fran Soleno, and I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Did you know taxes could be your biggest expense during retirement? Are most of your assets in tax-deferred accounts like IRAs and 401ks? Taxes are historically low today, but we're facing significant headwinds in the future. Do you have a plan? The Thrive Financial team has more than 100 years of experience helping people across the Delaware Valley with forward-looking tax planning. Learn how to shift your money from forever tax to no or low tax accounts. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
Sales National Football Show. My daughter made the dean's list in college. Thank God my daughter takes after my wife. My wife and I are both going like this. How many dean's list sales did you ever make? I go, dean's list? I know about a Denny's list. A dean's list? I don't know about. Okay, I mean, yeah, I don't know about a dean's list. I know what the Denny's Grand Slam is. But, man, my kid is some sort of freak show. She's the captain of her number 2 ranked rugby team. Her Grand Canyon rugby team is number 2 in the country. She's the captain. She's been the captain. By the way, she's been like the captain for I think this is going on her 2nd year now. And she plays against teams like Arizona State, BYU, Arizona, Stanford, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Penn State. And she plays against all these programs. And so we get a letter in the mail, and it says, congratulations, Daniel Sileo. You have been selected, and you have earned the dean's list. I think it's like a 3.5, 3.6, some crazy number. And okay. And Big Sills was on the dean's list. No. I was on the principal's list. Thank you, man. Sills paying off the comp. Hey, Sills paying off the competition. You guys should see me. Hey, Yale, you should see me. I was doing this. My wife is a coach, and she coaches this rugby team in high school. And, dude, we're up in South Central and at Crenshaw High. I can't control myself. Hey, that's a bullshit call. I got $100 in my pocket if you want to keep it fair. Everyone's laughing. My wife is like this. She's the head coach. She turns around and she goes, you're going to get me thrown out of here. So I'm like this. All right, I'm going to control myself. That's a bullshit call. That's ridiculous. What are you looking at? Why don't you walk them down there? Keep it fair. Hey, my name is Guinea Goomba. I will send someone at everyone's laughing, and I don't know what it is. I can't control myself. And finally, my wife comes over and goes, you're going to have to leave. I can no longer sit close to the fence. I have to sit in the upper deck. And my wife will turn, and that means I have to be quiet, or she'll say muskrat. I got to and there I'm one of the guys that you don't like screaming at refs. There's me. Guy, seriously, you're too old to do this. The person looks over at me and goes, why? I go, because you're blind. Oh, it's terrible. I cannot believe I can't control my. I can't control myself. I don't know what it is. You know, I would never say a word to a ref when I was in a game. Never. I never said anything to him. Now I'm a heckler. I'm the guy you go, Jesus, that obnoxious father. Anyway, I'm very sorry. Hey, watch this. I'm so sorry. I'm really trying. I'm trying to do my best. I really am. Hey, you know, some of you out here go, Sileo, you're an asshole. I think you're right. Hey, I'd throw your, hey, Steve, I think you're right, man. I think some of you guys, oh, man, I can't take it. Especially when I see, hey, watch this. I'm some sort of like injustice fighter now. Hey, I'm here to defend what's right. And hey, who am I? I'm right and wrong. I don't give a shit about right and wrong. Oh, the refs are looking at me going, hey, I'm coming for you. I know where you parked your car, guy. My wife's like, please. Anyway. Sills, how much would number 10 yield in a trade back? Depends on who's there. If a quarterback slides, all of a sudden you're sitting here, you got CJ Stroud sitting at 10. That pick's a valuable pick. Okay? For somebody like the Colts. Okay? That pick's pretty. Okay? Big Sills the heckler. Not good. Let me get into this before we get out of here. I put down the top 5 running backs. And there's really only one day and a first-round guy, and that's the Bijan Robinson kid from Texas. I'm going to make a comparison, and Barrett Brooks agreed with me. Is it Bijan? I think it's Bijan Robinson. How would you guys like to have Le'Veon Bell on your team? Le'Veon Bell, Pittsburgh. Okay? Yeah, drop back, get another pick. You could end up getting yourself another one next year. Or a 2 in the draft. Trading back, it just depends on who's at that pick. How would you guys like to have, because remember something, Howie Roseman inquired about going after Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. But Carolina got a treasure chest of picks from San Francisco to get him up there. And Howie wasn't willing to give up all that equity. But Howie's looking for a back like that. Miles Sanders doesn't fit that. So this Bijan Robinson kid he's kind of like Le'Veon Bell. Okay? You could put him in a slot. He could run in between the tackles and give you 1,500 yards. Shit, man, you could even line him up wide. He's a tough runner in the middle. He was a high school savant when it came to what people thought of him. He could have went anywhere in the country. He went to Texas. Now, here's my problem with Texas. Texas has underachieved. They've got 53 out of 85 guys on scholarship. There's like 53 5-star guys on that team. Or 4 and 5-star guys. They should be much better than what they are record-wise. Okay, and they just haven't performed as a program. I don't know if Sarkisian's the guy. Okay, I thought he was decent at Southern Cal. But the reason I thought he was decent at Southern Cal, Ed Ogeron was the recruiting coordinator there. Remember, then Ed became the interim guy, and then he went to LSU and recruited Ed Ogeron is one of the best recruiting guys in the country. And Ed Ogeron was the guy that got Pete Carroll all those great players at Southern Cal. So Ed Ogeron can recruit. Chases too many skirts, but he can recruit. Okay, so this kid Robinson is Le'Veon Bell. Would you take him at 30? I'd like to have Le'Veon Bell on my team. It'd be a high pick. And if I'm sitting at 30, Kansas City will take him at 31. You imagine this kid Robinson in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes? So Patrick Mahomes potentially gets Le'Veon Bell. They'd be better and cheaper. That's something you got to think about. Blake Corum, Michigan. I think he's a day 2 guy. He's a little short, 5'8", 210. He's a pretty good back. Zach Charbonneau, UCLA. He's a second-day guy. Jamar Gibbs, Bama. I love the kid. He's a second-day guy myself. And this guy, Sean Tucker from Cuse. He's another guy. He's another second-day guy. You're going to see a lot of running backs go in the second day. That's rounds 2 and 3. So, all right. Man, we covered a lot today, did we not? Hey, man, I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much. Absolutely spectacular stuff, Marshall. I like Bijan a lot, but I think they like Kareem Hunt and free agency. Depends on what the price is. Okay? Thank you guys a lot. Tone, Xander, you guys are great. See you tomorrow, 3 to 6 Eastern, and we'll see you on the flip side.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates.